Good afternoon, YouTube. This is Kayleen Strain coming at you with what could be considered a fridge or pantry clean out kind of recipe. I just came up with this and I'm just throwing some stuff together, and I'll show you what I have. I have 3 cans of these vegetarian beans in a tomato sauce. Sorry about my lighting. I'm in my kitchen, and so I just have overhead lighting. I don't have a side light, but it's white beans in tomato sauce. So I have 3 cans, and then I have a can of cannellini beans, which will be drained. The other 3 beans will not be drained because they're in a tomato sauce and you want to keep that. But the cannellini beans will be drained. And then I was cutting some onions to put in my turkey that I did in my crock pot. And then I had some left that I cut, and I just put them in this bag, and the rest of the onions I dehydrated. So what I did not put on the dehydrator, I put in here because I was using bigger pieces for the dehydrator and these pieces are too small. So this is probably, I didn't measure it, I just put them in here, but that's the amount of onion I want. And then I have a pack of these Hebrew National hot dogs, all beef hot dogs. There are 6 in here, and what I'll do is I'll cut these up. And then an item that I was able to quote-unquote liberate from my mosque, because I was told that I could take any seasonings or other stuff that we would not be using, because we will still not be doing meals for quite some time because of the big nasty. And when we get loaded up for the first meal that we do, we will start with all fresh spices and seasonings. So what I did not take, I left behind, and then others will be able to take that. So what I have here are 2 open bottles of this barbecue sauce. This is Sweet Baby Ray's. It's upside down because I want the sauce to go to the bottom of the bottle. So I upended it in these cups and stuck them in the fridge. So I left them there for a couple of days so that the sauce will go down, but it's Sweet Baby Ray's. So I will just empty those bottles out. And then the seasonings that I have, this is granulated garlic, and I just transferred it from a larger jar into this small bottle. So I use some of that. I have some of this Old Westport mesquite seasoning. Again, sorry I don't have a side light. This is a little bit of nutmeg. I had this, I've only used a little bit out of it, but I brought home a larger container of nutmeg from the mosque, so I just decided to combine the 2. And I left in here what I'm going to use, and then I'll just get rid of this. Some black pepper. This is a grinder of Himalayan pink salt, and the way this, see, there's the grinder in there. Then I can just grind it like this into the cap. Sometimes this cap can be a little sticky, but you take the cap off. And there you have the salt. I'll obviously put a little bit more of that in there. Then I have some mustard powder, a little bit. I use a little bit of that. Then I have this cinnamon. I have several of these bottles of the Minotaur cinnamon. It says the Minotaur Trading Company. And there's cinnamon there. Oh, oops, there we go. So I'll be using some of that. And then I have a box of, this is that brown sugar that I bought from Walgreens. And it comes in a bag, and it was a little hard, so I went ahead and opened the box, and I kind of just kneaded it a little bit so it'll be easier to get some of it out. Then behind me I have the pot on the stove. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and open up my can of beans that I have to drain. And these beans are in a super thick liquid, so what I like to do, I've done this at the Moss too, and this is an easy trick to help you get some of these beans out. I just put some water in a can, shake it up. And it also helps to rinse off that thick stuff that builds up. So I'm doing this first. I'm just reaching up to dry my hands on a towel. So those will drain. Now go ahead and open up the other cans of beans. This is a can opener that cuts the can from the side. Instead of cutting the top. So you can see on the lid, that's the tomato sauce that you want. I'm just chucking the lids in the sink for now. I'll collect all the trash later. Yes, I use a manual can opener exclusively because I've been in houses that have had the electric can openers, and they have given me so much crap because you either not want to hold the can or would not want to cut the can. So I thought, heck with that nonsense. I don't care to bother with an electric can opener. So that's it for the can opener. what I will do is this is a pot that I'm going to put it in. I'm just using a spatula to get all of the beans and sauce out of the can. Again, when you do these, you can do it any way you want. You can add your own seasonings. You can combine different types of beans. Yes, it's just me. I'm the only one who will be eating this, but that's okay because this is something that I can get a few meals out of. I just dumped in the cannellini beans. Sorry, I forgot to shut the noises off on my phone, so it is what it is. I'm no professional. Now, everything is all just going to cook together. I'm going to go ahead and put the onions in. If you didn't have fresh onions, you can obviously use the dried minced onions, onion powder, onion salt. Or your dehydrated onions. This is a 1/4 teaspoon. I'm just gonna dip it in there. A couple of spoons of the minced garlic. This is probably a 1/4 teaspoon of the nutmeg. So I just chuck all that in. That mustard didn't quite come out into the spoon that I wanted, but this is an 1/8 teaspoon. Not every measuring spoon set has an 1/8 teaspoon, but if you can find one of these, get it. I'll just so probably between an 1/8 and a 1/4, about an 1/8 teaspoon, maybe not quite a 1/4 teaspoon of the mustard. Now this mesquite, it has a shaker on it. I probably put in about the same amount of that mesquite as I did the garlic. This is the black pepper. You season that as you want. I got the cinnamon. So that approximately a 1/4 teaspoon of that. I just dumped what little bit of salt I had ground into the cap. Now I'm twisting the Himalayan pink salt. And these are adjustable grinders, so you can adjust the size of the grind that you want. I just leave it as is because I like it. I'm going to cut open the bag of the powdered sugar that's inside this box. After I use what I want out of the powdered sugar, what I'm going to do is transfer this into a container that I can seal up. Now this scoop actually holds 2 teaspoons. The only reason why I'm using it is it's just easier to get the brown sugar out of the box. So basically 3 of these scoops. Clean up the side of the bag there. So again, I will reseal this in another container later. Now I'm going to take these bottles of the Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce. What I could do is I could put a little bit of water in here through that hole. Then put the cap back on. And then you shake it. Sometimes you don't want to put you just want enough just to get it out, but sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I'm just using my 1/8 teaspoon to clean out the cap. So that bottle is pretty much finished. Now this other one has more in it, so I'll be able to get more out of it than that first one. And the sauce still smells good. Beating this side of the bottle against the pot to try to get more of it to come down. Again, I'm doing with this one what I did with the other one. Just put a little in a bottle. Again, I'm throwing my trash in the sink because I have a garbage bag that will be taken out tonight. So now that I have the sauce in, I'm just going to mix everything up. And I don't have this on the stove yet, but the barbecue sauce will give an extra amount of liquid plus the flavor. And I'll stir this as I cook it. Now I'm going to go ahead and put this on the stove. I'm going to take the hot dogs out of the pack. If you just wanted to do this without any kind of protein, you can. Or if you wanted to do something different. And I'm going to slice them into bite-sized pieces. For one thing, they'll cook faster. So basically about this size. Doesn't take too long at all. If you wanted to try this with the Vienna sausage, if you want to mask the taste of that, if that's all the meat that you had, but you had canned beans, and you just had the Vienna sausage, if you put those in there, or if you wanted to use another type of sausage, or for those who eat pork, if you put Spam in there, you could possibly put Spam in there. You could put other sausages. You know, there are hot dogs that are made out of turkey. There are hot dogs that are made out of chicken. There are combination meat hot dogs you could use. They're the hot dogs. I just put those in the pot. I'm washing my paws. I did turn the stove on. So now I'm going to put this here. So, oops, I need to turn this around. There we go. Oops. So right there is the pot. I'm going to start on high heat at first just to get it warmed up, and I'm stirring the hot dogs in. You could use this as a main entree, you could use this as a side. And this probably looks similar to what some British rations might have, what's called an all-day breakfast, which is beans, and some kind of a sausage with some other items in there. I've had the vegetarian version of that with it's a meatless sausage, and that usually has some potato in it. Because this has brown sugar and the barbecue sauce in it. You want to make sure that it doesn't burn. I will give you a look at what it looks like. So I will in fact eat some of this for my supper. If you could serve this with the bread, or if you had rice, you could put this with rice, or if you had potatoes, put this with potatoes, or any kind of grain. You could probably, if you had to avoid gluten, you could use rice, quinoa. Now, there are gluten-free breads that are available for those that have to watch what kinds of grains they eat. You could take, say, hamburger buns or bread and do what I like to do when I've had the hot beef sandwiches in the past. I've gotten them at a restaurant or we've done it at home. You take your bread, you put your mashed potatoes in the middle, in between the bread pieces, and then you pour your sauced beef or whatever over top. You can do this. You can make your sauce in this as loose or as tight as you want. Depending on how you like your beans, because sometimes when you get canned baked beans or you make baked beans, the sauce could be a little bit tighter than this, a little thicker, or it could be a little thinner or looser. You do this how you like. And I'm just throwing some things in there. You know, the little bit of mustard powder that I put in will give it a little kick. But then there will be the sweetness from the brown sugar, the cinnamon, the nutmeg, and the barbecue sauce. Plus a little bit of the kick from the black pepper. So I'm going to continue to heat this up for a few more minutes. I'm not going to bore you with that. But again, I'm going to give you a final look at this. I can turn on my stove light there, and I can get a better look at what it looks like with my stove light on. So I hope this gives you an idea on what you can do if you need to use up canned beans and other items, or you have a little bit of some spices left that you need to use up before you open up a new one, especially if it's time to rotate something out. This is a way you can do that. So I hope this gives you an idea, and again, make it your way. You do what you want with it. I hope you enjoy it, and thanks for watching, and catch you on the flip side.